Yo, what's up? I'm Trail Sav, and I'm joined here by my esteemed co-host Cam, and we want to welcome you to another installment of Views from the Couch. Today, we got a special one for you. We're reviewing Monster Hunter Wilds, a game that we all been waiting for since 2019. But before we get into that review, Cam, he got something for y'all.
YouTube, what is going on? It is your boy Cam from Tweeking Media. I want to thank y'all so much for tuning in. Before we get into the actual meat of the video, be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and leave a comment below letting us know your thoughts on this latest entry of the Monster Hunter franchise. Click on that bell icon to be notified of all future content that's available on the channel. On top of game reviews, we have the Nerd Culture Podcast, Sports Podcast, and Gotcha Gaming content. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, lock in with us. Lastly, share this video amongst all your fellow hunters and help us get to 1K subs.
I want to start by saying this. At every State of Play, every Game Awards or Summer's Games Fest, I've been waiting for Capcom to show us our next installment in the Monster Hunter series. So when the Wilds trailer dropped at the Game Awards of 2023, I was hyped. Monster Hunter Worlds was one of our squad games back in the day, and that was my first Monster Hunter game. So I went into that series completely blind and had an absolute blast. I was praying that Wilds can give me that same feeling.
Same for me. My first official Monster Hunter experience was Monster Hunter World on the PS4. I had some prior experience with the series with demos on the 3DS and PSP, so I knew a little bit about the raid boss gameplay that the series is known for. Worlds was an experience that Trail and I had that can never truly be replicated. I mean, we poured hundreds of hours into the base game and hundreds more into the Iceborne expansion, which is why I was a little disappointed when Monster Hunter Rise couldn't give me that same experience I fell in love with World. Not to say it was a bad game, it just didn't give me what I was looking for as the next main installment in the franchise. Also didn't help that it released first as a Switch exclusive. However, when Wilds was revealed, I immediately felt like we were going back to that world itch I was so desperate to go back to like a drug fiend.
I want to start off with a disclaimer. I got this game on PlayStation, so I didn't get the bad experience the PC niggas had with optimization, so I can't speak on that. To start off, I want to say I had as much fun on Wilds that I did in Worlds. I hate repetitive loops in video games. I get bored easily, but in Monster Hunter, I absolutely love it. If you would have told me Monster Hunter at its core is just hunt monsters, make boots, I would have probably passed on it. But this game loop is like a drug. I never got tired of hunting said monsters and making said boots. The combat, it's a 10 out of 10. They always seem to evolve the combat with each iteration of the game. And with Wilds, it's at its best. I came into this game as a Charge Blade main. I loved it in Worlds, and I loved it in Rides. So naturally, the first weapon I picked up was the Charge Blade. Though I loved it, I wanted to try something different and a new experience. So I picked up the Gunlands. And I must say, I think I'm in love. It's not the most agile weapon, but the combination of great defense and great raw power makes for one of the best battling experience I ever had. One of my favorite moments in this game is when you blocking a monster fire breath or the fart spray that one monkey do to you, and you completely take it, march towards it, and give it a good poke. I absolutely love that, and I must say, it's cinema.
I agree. The combat is the definitive highlight of the game. Big shout out to all my fellow Hammer mains out there. Big bonks in the chat. But one thing that stood out to me was definitely the graphics and the environmental details this game has. You can truly tell that this game was designed for next generation hardware and pimped out PCs. Well, that's when the optimization is working in y'all's favors. I mean, from having a desert location that turns into an insane sandstorm when the apex monsters in the environment, a serene forest that can turn into a flood zone, to a lava furnace zone that houses regions with crap tons of oil deposits. Every location in this game feels unique and adds to the ambience of hunting the local monsters that would make sense to be in these locations.
I also want to talk about how great the boss battles are. Excuse me if I get the name wrong, but Arkvale, Jin Dahan, Gore Magdala, Raydal, and shoot, even New Udra all felt like great boss fights. It's funny, because in other games, a monster like Jin Dahan will be considered an in-game boss or even a secret boss because of the sheer scale of it. But in Monster Hunter, it's just another day at the office. The difficulty seems a little bit easy compared to my experience in Worlds, but to be honest, it might just be because I'm a top tier hunter now.
To add on to that, the set piece presentations on how these apex predators are introduced are crazy. Like I mentioned previously, a lot of environmental changes you see in each location is because the region's alpha is in the area. When you load into the sand area and you see a dust storm kicking up, it's because Raydal is there. The cutscene introducing Jin Dahad, where you're just trying to get away from him and he's just scaling the walls, felt like you were about to fight a final boss, but he was just another notch you gotta add on your belt. These were the fights that a lot of Monster Hunter veterans were excited for because each of these fights had unique mechanics that you had to take advantage of, as if you were fighting a raid in a game like Destiny or a massive MMO boss.
I also want to talk about the grind. It's way better than Worlds. Me being able to see what the monster have before I hunt it is a great feature I never knew I needed. People might say this make the game easy, but shoot, I like it. Like I said, I want to hunt monsters, make boots. That's it. Hunting a monster 27 times to make said boots, it's not that fun. Less grind is always a plus in my book.
The biggest W of this game for me is Gemma and all. Simple as that. Nah, but in all seriousness, I agree with Daytrail. A lot of things in this game were streamlined, and for me, that's a net positive. Even though Worlds is our first Monster Hunter game, I feel like this game is meant not only for longtime fans, but newcomers as well. You have to understand that Worlds grind was not new player friendly. In this game, being able to get access to high rank simply by beating the main story is great. Getting players accustomed to various monster types and fights before getting them ready for more challenges is great game design. No more expeditions is great. That mechanic in Worlds was just artificial game padding, and you can't convince me of anything else. Getting access to tempered monsters and tempered apex predators before Hunter rank 50 is great. In Worlds, that was Hunter rank 100. In the words of that once famous meme, ain't nobody got time for that. There are complaints that some monster fights are too short, and again, I'm fine with that. Lala Barina doesn't need to take 30 minutes to beat. Save those for Tempered Arkvale and the other big bads. Having access to being able to grind high level gear a lot more easily in the endgame is a good thing. Investigations being more easily accessible and rewards being more plentiful makes the process of hunting these monsters more fun, because you know you're not entirely relying on RNG to get the drops you want. Ardian weapons, materials, and decorations being clear-cut on how to obtain and develop them adds to the addicting gameplay grind of wanting to get stronger, while looking cool in the process. All this adds to a game that knows that there are other games coming out and wants you to experience the best elements of this gameplay loop as soon as possible. Now, not every game is perfect, and as much fun as I had with Monster Hunter Wilds, there were some things that I noticed. Firstly, the story of Monster Hunter Wilds is mid at best. To give credit where credit is due, the presentation is fantastic. The cutscene quality is crazy good, and like I mentioned, when they introduce a region's alpha, you feel like you're fighting something truly epic. However, I just was not invested in the plot. The characters, for the most part, were fine, but I think the biggest reason why I couldn't be bothered to care about the story was Nata. This is hands down not only the worst character in this game, but possibly the worst character in the Monster Hunter universe, hands down. The name of the game is Monster Hunter. I'm not trying to feel sympathetic to anything that I'm about to kill to make some boots. So this whole angle of trying to get us to feel sorry for Arkvale fell flat. Also, the static cutscenes when there are just characters talking to one another felt awkward with a lot of lingering dialogue that takes you out of whatever emotion the game wants you to feel at the time. I understand a lot of people will counter this with, well, the point of the game is the end of the game. The story shouldn't matter. To that I say, stop it. Get some help. They put this in the game. It's clear they put effort into this, so I'm going to critique it all the same. I see the vision, and I feel like this is the best effort they've put into their story so far. So hopefully in the next main installment, or when we eventually get our Iceborne expansion for this game, they can improve upon this aspect of the game. More emphasis on the non-Apex monsters can be a start, especially since it seems as though they were just tossing them at us towards the end of the main story.
Yeah, the story was a nothing burger. I heard one person say it's like a campaign, it's more stream like unlike Worlds. And I agree, but it's still a nothing burger. Like Cam stated earlier, rest in peace to those expeditions. I never want to go through that ever again. But that story is still a nothing burger. It's not a big problem for me though. I still had a great time with the game, but it's still an issue because the story is a nothing burger.
But also say that the flow of the end game felt weird. It's hard to put into words. Like, instead of adding more to what they established in the main game, it just felt like you were racing to unlock frenzy monsters, then tempered monsters, then tempered apexes. There was no real effort in establishing the threat of more dangerous monsters. It was like, oh yeah, go fight this thing now because it's acting weird.
Actually, for me, I just wanted more content. In today's market with games, everyone wants your attention, and most importantly, your time. I know Capcom usually drip feed its players when it comes to content to keep them coming back, but it's another stacked year in video games. And I don't want this game to end up on the shelf getting dusty like other games that didn't have a lot of content. Cough, cough, Warhammer. It's a small issue again, but in the grand scheme of things, I wish it had more monsters to hunt so I can make more boots.
Finally, for me, it's the UI. Now, for Monster Hunter veterans, this may seem simple, but for newcomers, there's so many menus, so many sub-menus and things that are not explained that it can be overwhelming for people not used to this system. Also, once again, these games make it more complicated than it needs to be, by introducing so many ways to invite your friends to play with you, except a simple post quest, invite friend to join quest. Stop making these convoluted ways and processes to play with my friends, please. All in all, my experience with Monster Hunter Wilds was way more positive than negative. My rating for this game is a solid 8 out of 10. I highly recommend this game for longtime fans of the series and people curious enough to want to give it a try.
For me, again, I love this game. I think it's definitely an early contender for Game of the Year already. So my rating for the game is an 8.5 out of 10. For the small issues I did have, I still think it's a great game that I wish everyone get a chance to play.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. Let us know your thoughts on our review and what you think about the games yourselves. Definitely gonna start being a lot more consistent with our game reviews on this channel, so stay tuned. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and see y'all next time.